This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. Chef Cutter Dive, welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe. The boy, yeah, right. It's an on this day. And on this day, April 13th, there is no birthday boy this year, but April 13th, 1996, the Detroit Red Wings did something that was huge. Their big win against the Blackhawks meant that they got 61 wins in a regular season, breaking the NHL record for most wins in a regular season by a team, breaking the record of the 1977 Habitants, or Canadians to you and I, 60 wins. Now, this was the 70th season that the Red Wings organization happened. They were born in September 1926, an expansion team, and they picked up players from the defunct Western Hockey League, not the major junior league you know now, but a real league called the Western Hockey League. And Detroit was once known as the Cougars and the Falcons before turning out to be the Red Wings. The 96 Red Wings were huge. 62 they got to 62 wins, which still is the record. Well, actually tied with the 2019 Tampa Bay Lightning for most wins in a regular season. They scored 131 points, but they did not set that record. The points record was set by the 77 Habs at 132 points. So the Red Wings were close, but not close enough to that mark. They actually ended up with 62 wins. If the Red Wings had played basketball in the NBA, they would have only been behind Seattle and Chicago for wins. That was the year Chicago won 72 games to set the record for most wins in a season by an NBA team in the regular season. And the Supersonics, what am I saying? 64 wins. All that. The Red Wings had 2 9-game winning streaks and had a 13-game winning streak going 12-1. So basically, they were streaking. They were awarded the President's Trophy, obviously, as the league's best team. And they scored in every game. They were never shut out. So anyway, the regular season was huge and all that. The Red Wings had some great moments and all that. November 95, when the Habs came to Montreal at Jules Arena, Mario Tremblay actually spoke to Le Journal de Montréal and said that he was resentful of Scotty Bowman. He actually played under Bowman for 5 years. And Tremblay said that, Bowman would always threaten to send him to the minors and all that. Montreal lost 3-2, and the headline stated, Bowman has the last word. I mean, yeah, Mario Tremblay was a decent player and all that, but he wasn't really the superstar that the Habs had and all that. Although Tremblay was involved in that famous goal that Yvon Lambert scored to win Game 7 of the NHL semis in 1979, the too many men on the ice call. Anyway, the Red Wings, strange enough, would actually be coming 4 days later to Montreal to play the last time at the Forum. It wasn't the last game in Forum's history. It was just the last time the Red Wings would play at the Montreal Forum. And they only play one game a year because, they're in separate conferences. So anyway, that game was huge. I did a sports catastrophe on it for December 2nd, obviously. Why wouldn't I? And that game was 11-1. We all remember that game. Patrick Roy being embarrassed, and Tremblay should have yanked him after the first period, or even the 6th or 7th goal. I would have yanked him, and then maybe Roy would have been less angry and all that. Of course, Roy gave up 9 of the 11 goals to the Red Wings, and Patrick Blonsky gave up the other 2. So anyway, yeah, it was just huge and all that. So anyway, the Red Wings played a part in Roy being dealt. Now, Montreal could have traded him to any team in the Western Conference minus Colorado, but they traded him to Colorado. And then, with Roy, Colorado went on an amazing run and all that. And it seemed that Colorado got their goalie. Well, the team moved from Quebec City, and I doubt Roy would have been traded to the Nordiques. I mean, after all, the Habs and Nords had a big belt, but each other. But yeah, the Red Wings felt good about themselves. Chris Osgood even scored a goal in that 95-96 season in Hartford. and the Red Wings would push the Avalanche around a few times. But when it came to playoff time, it was so much different and all that. Anyhow, so the Red Wings were first in the NHL in wins, points, shutouts, goals against with the fewest even strength goals allowed, fewest power play goals allowed, and the best penalty kill percentage. So they crushed it. They won the Central Division by 37 points over the Chicago Blackhawks. They won the Western Conference by 27 against the Avalanche, who were number 2. So anyway, the strange thing about the Red Wings in that 96 season was that they actually only went 5-4-2 in October. So they struggled out of the gate. However, after October, they never lost more than 3 games in any month. November they were 9-2. December they were 13-1. Their only blemish was to the Red Wings, to the Rangers in overtime at MSG. But you know what? Still didn't matter. I mean, that's huge. 8-2-2 in January. 11-2 in February. 12-1-1 in March, and April 4-1-2. Of course, when ties were a thing and not shootout/overtime. I mean, overtime was there, but no shootouts. The funny thing is, November, December, January, and February, they were combined 25-1-1 on Joe Louis ice. Unbelievable. 25-1-1 on their own ice in November, December, January, and February. That is hard pressed. Anyway, so you got some great players and all that. You got Sergei Fedorov, Steve Yzerman, Paul Coffey, Slava Kozlov. Oh, I forgot to say Kitchener for Paul Coffey. Igor Larionov, Nick Lidstrom, Kiprimo, Dino Cesarelli, Slava Fetisov, Greg Johnson, Vladdy Konstantinov, Bob Urey, Darren McCarty, Doug Brown, Tim Taylor, not home improvement guy, Chris Draper, Matthew Denino, Mark Bergevin, Martin Lapointe, Mike Ramsey played for that team, Bob Rouse, Ray Shepard, Kirk Maltby, Stu Grimson, Jimmy Pusher, Wes Walsh, and Anders Eriksson. And the goaltending, they had 3 goalies. Chris Osgood went 39-6-5. Mike Fernan was 21-7-2. And Kevin Hodson even came in for 4 games and won a few games. So, yeah, remember him? It was kind of strange how, Osgood and Fernan were just like a tandem. Osgood only played 50 games, Fernan played 32. So it was a tandem bike effort. So, yeah, the Red Wings traded Sean Burr for Mark Bergevin before the 95 season. In October 95, they traded Ray Shepard to San Jose for Igor Larionov, which was huge. And then at the trade deadline, they got Kirk Mulkey from Edmonton for Dan McGillis. So that worked out. Free agency, they picked up not too many people, all that. So, yeah. So the 95 draft picks, nobody played for that team. So, yeah, the Red Wings were good. The Red Wings would take on the number 8 seed Winnipeg Jets in the first round of the playoffs and beat them in 6. Of course, Game 6 was in Winnipeg, which was the last NHL game in Winnipeg. We thought forever, but then in 2011, the Jets came from Atlanta, so 15 years was a long time. But, yeah, Detroit won in 6 games. It was shocking that Winnipeg took them to Game 6, especially winning Game 5 in Detroit, of all places, and Nikolai Khabibulin with that great performance. And then came the Western semifinals against St. Louis, who took down Toronto. Of course, St. Louis did not have Grant Fuhr because he got hurt by Nick Kypreos on purpose or by accident. You don't know, but John Casey played his heart out. The shocking thing about that semifinal is that St. Louis actually not only took Detroit to the limit in 7 games, they actually had a 3-2 series lead. Can you believe that? The Blues won games 3, 4, and 5. They were up 3-2. Detroit had to win in St. Louis to force Game 7. And we all know that double overtime game when Gretzky lost the puck and Steve Yzerman blasted that 60-foot shot over John Casey's shoulder into the net. And the Red Wings win 1-0. Can you imagine if the Blues actually won Game 7 in Detroit? How much Detroit collapsed in the playoffs? Well, we all know Detroit suffered badly. They lost 2 of their 3 home games in the conference finals against Colorado. They were down 2-0, and that was the momentum. And, of course, we all know about Claude Lemieux's dirty hit on Chris Draper in Game 6, which saw Lemieux booted from the game and then given a 2-game suspension. All that, and Colorado took care of Detroit. I'm a Patrick Roy nut, so I was happy. But here's the big thing about Claude Lemieux and all that. They let him go to the handshake line, and the Red Wings were pissed off. Rightfully so. And so basically, most wins in one season, the President's Trophy. Sergei Fedorov won the Selke for Best Defensive Forward. Scotty Bowman won the Jack Adams for Best Coach. Konstantinov had the Best Plus Minus, a plus 60. The Jennings Trophy for Best Goalie Tandem, which Osgood Ferdinand. And Osgood was the second team All-Star alongside Vladdy Konstantinov. So despite all that, they had a great offensive season. But the fact of the matter is the Red Wings, 62 wins, just couldn't make it work and get to the Stanley Cup Finals, much less win it. And the funny thing is, as I keep mentioning, all 4 major sports, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, the leaders in most regular season wins all time have not won the title. For baseball, it's 116-win Cubs, despite the fact they've only played 152 games in 1906. They lost the final to the White Sox, the Hitless Wonders, as they call them. And the Seattle Mariners put up 116 wins in the 2001 season in 162 games, and yet they didn't get to the finals because the Yankees took them out in the AL Finals. Basketball, the 73-win Golden State Warriors in 2016, they couldn't get it done. They choked a 3-1 series lead to the Cavaliers, led by Draymond Green's ejection/suspension for Game 5, which ruined Golden State's momentum. Football, the undefeated New England Patriots, 16-0 in the regular season, and then 2-1 in the playoffs. They lost Super Bowl 42 to the Giants, which still haunts me to this day as a Pats fan. And, of course, the Red Wings and Tampa, for that matter, with 62 wins and not winning the Cup. So, whatever happens, happens. Anyway, I'm Joe, what I'm going to do.